Hi, good morning everybody. I'm Fergus Harradence, the Deputy Director for Innovation Policy in BIS, and for the last 6 months I've been the person who's been leading the development of the Innovation and Research Strategy for the UK, which we're looking to publish on the 8th of December. And what I wanted to do today is just quickly explain to you what that's going to cover, the basic thinking that goes into the policies behind it, and also just cover some of the specific things that we're going to be announcing then. I just wanted to pick up on the point made by that gentleman there about what our conception of innovation is. I think the name Innovation and Research Strategy does rather imply that government is still locked in thinking about innovation as a linear process that starts somewhere in a research laboratory or a public sector research establishment and then goes through a process of series of stages where academics work on it, the technology reaches a certain point, then business picks it up, they invest in it through corporate labs, or it's spun out of the university, funded by venture capital, and then the company gradually grows, or the product is further developed, and then ultimately it's launched into the market. I would like to say that after sort of 10 or 15 years working in this area, we are a little bit more sophisticated than that. So what we mean when we say innovation does actually encapsulate a very broad range of different activities. And part of that is research, part of that is R&D, conducted in business, but equally investment by companies and other organisations in intangible assets, branding, design, development of new marketing, business models, investment in software, upskilling the workforce. We count all of these as factors that are important in driving innovation, and particularly in driving innovation in the UK, because of the limited number of technology-based sectors that we have in this country, and really the limited proportion of our total GDP that they generate. Actually, investments in these intangible assets are probably the more important sort of innovation investment that companies in this country can make. So facilitating that and encouraging a higher level of it is part and parcel of what we want to achieve. So the reason for having an innovation and research strategy is that, starting with that broad conception of innovation, what we wanted to do was link this very firmly to growth. In a developed economy, it's been estimated that up to 2/3 of all productivity and all economic growth is in one way or another attributable to innovation. So really, if you don't have an innovation strategy, you don't have a growth strategy, and you can't really have an effective growth strategy without an innovation strategy. The second point I would make is that is also true at firm level. Some of the research that we've had done in the UK by organisations such as Nesta has suggested that innovative companies grow twice as quickly in terms of turnover and employment growth as non-innovative companies. So again, unless you actually have an innovation strategy, you're simply not going to have a growth strategy. And that is the thing that we wanted to place right at the centre of the work that we've been doing. It is this link between innovation and growth. The second thing that we wanted to encapsulate at the heart of the strategy is an understanding that innovation is a systemic process. It is not a linear process. It's one where products, services are developed and created as a result of a range of different interactions between different organisations which draw on different stages of the innovation cycle and the cycle of product development within companies. And again, I mean, this is not simply about R&D, that is but one input that is required in the development of certain products. It's more about actually having a system of organisations that can deliver particular types of expertise or support that are accessible to innovators when they need them. So those are the two themes that we had at the heart of the centre, and we've explored them really in the structure of the report via 4 key chapters. One of which is about encouraging greater integration across the innovation system in the UK and making that more accessible. The UK actually has a very good innovation system. It has a great breadth of expertise, it has great depth of expertise. There are over 400 individual areas where the UK is distinctively strong in terms of research. The problem is that this expertise is distributed across a huge number of different institutions, 130 odd universities and HEIs, public sector research establishments like the National Physical Laboratory or the local office of the local government chemist. It's also widely dispersed across the private sector in a number of private sector research and technology organisations. And that's great at one level, because what you have is independence of decision making, which contributes to academic and business excellence in terms of innovation. And it also professionalises decision making in particular areas, but it does create a big coordination challenge, and it means that we have in the past really struggled to invest in and make the system work in a coherent way, and we've struggled in particular to fill the gaps in terms of where there's a lack of support at certain stages of the innovation cycle. Areas like proof of concept or support for demonstration activities would be good examples of that. The second theme was how we encourage high levels of business innovation. Part of that is what we do to encourage high technology sectors. We have some good ones in the UK, life sciences, some types of manufacturing, things like electronics, digital technologies as well, creative industries. These are all very good. We want to continue to support them, and we'll invest to do that via existing mechanisms of some of our new programmes like the Technology and Innovation Centres. What we're going to do to support the commercialisation of emerging technologies, things like synthetic biology or graphene, nanomaterial discovered at Manchester University. But we also wanted to broaden that out, recognising that these sectors are a limited part of the UK economy, to sectors that we've termed innovation challenge sectors. We actually started with the phrase innovation deficit sectors, but we thought that sounded a little bit pejorative. And as politics these days is all about making and maintaining friends, we changed it slightly. And the idea of the innovation challenge sector is that it's a sector that accounts for a fairly high level of economic activity in the UK, but it's one where there is quite clearly a gap between the capability of the sector to innovate and its capacity to adopt and embed new innovations and the scale of the challenge that the sector faces. And in the UK, I think you'd find exactly that sort of gap in the classic utilities sectors, energy and water. You'd also find it in areas like construction, agri-food, logistics. And similarly as well, there's an uneven pattern of innovation in the UK. It's heavily concentrated in the southeast, with bits and pieces elsewhere in the country. You've got electronics up in the northwest, biotech up in Scotland, renewable energy up in the northeast of England, aerospace down in the southwest. But actually, innovation in the UK remains primarily an urban phenomenon, which takes place in a limited number of areas. And actually, if you map out where innovation takes place in the UK, whether it's in terms of the institutions that win Research Council grants, whether it's in terms of the level of business investment in R&D or the level of patents registered, you find that you have a small number of areas that account for a disproportionate amount of innovation. So we also wanted to see what we can do through various funding mechanisms to broaden out the innovation geography of the UK and actually encourage companies in areas that are not particularly innovative, that are subject to slow levels of economic growth relative to other places. What can we do to accelerate that and create some more dynamic local innovation systems? The third key area, our role in the world. Innovation is now entirely international in the same way that scientific research is. Companies and countries compete for resources of skilled people, investment capital, which is highly mobile, various other projects in a global market. The technologies that we produce or use are developed in a global market or they're sold in a global market. If the UK is to have a sensible innovation strategy, it has to think about its place in the global economy and what we are going to do to ensure that we can compete there and we can attract a sufficient quantity of these resources to the UK. And then finally, what is the role of the public sector? Recognising that the public sector in total accounts for around about 40% of UK GDP, or that's the amount it draws in and it spends in various ways. But what can we do by the way in which we conduct our own activities, through making publicly held data more open, more transparent, more available to innovators, through the way in which we procure goods and services, what we can do to remove regulations that have been introduced that act as a barrier to the introduction of new technologies or companies using new business models, and what we can do to embed design and encourage good design through the products we procure, but also through the services that we develop and then that we provide to the public sector in one way or another. Just to conclude by talking about some of the specific measures that are going to be announced in the strategy, and to cover the place of design within the strategy. And based on the feedback that we had from the design community, we've not chosen to isolate design as a specific area and have a little chapter or subset of a chapter that says this is all about design. What we've tried to do is integrate that across the strategy and create multiple touch points for design and try and work out how design contributes or can contribute to policy development or the ideas or the initiatives that we have in individual areas. So just as an example of some of the things that we're going to be doing, one of the things that we were able to secure through the autumn statement that the Chancellor announced on Tuesday was an additional £75 million of funding to support high technology SMEs, which we're going to channel through a range of programmes, Grant for R&D, the Small Business Research Initiative. We're also going to use it to fund some pilot innovation vouchers programmes that will hopefully encourage small companies to develop new innovative products and services, and that will include drawing on an element of design expertise as they do this. Secondly, and this personally I think is the single most exciting announcement that's been made, because I think it marks the point at which we've actually won a big argument within government. We've managed to get £25 million to invest in large-scale demonstration of new technologies. This is the first time that we've actually been able to secure a specific budget for these activities, where we will be able to help companies and their supply chains demonstrate products and services that they've developed at scale as a key step on the route to commercialisation. We've done some demonstrators in the past that have been very successful in areas like low carbon vehicles, low carbon buildings. The TSB has led that work, but now we're actually in a position where we can actually expand the scope of our activities in this area, and we're looking very closely at technologies that are related to the future urban environment. So there's obviously huge scope for design to be involved in not only the development of the products, but the development of the services and the business models that will underpin some of these new technologies. There was also an announcement of the relating to the research and development tax credit that the scheme from 2013 will be moved to what's called an above-the-line basis, which means that companies which are loss-making, large companies in particular, will now be able to make claims against the R&D tax credit, which previously they weren't able to do, which is very good news. And we're going to do more to expand the number of design companies that are actually making claims under the programme. Some companies are doing that already. Nissan would be a very good example, but we think that, and some architectural practices as well, but we think there's scope to actually encourage more companies that are investing in very innovative design and particularly design related to engineering or industrial challenges, and actually provide them with additional resources through this programme that will keep them investing in products and services. We're going to see what we can do to integrate design across the innovation system, picking up on the wider theme of integration, how we embed this in technology and innovation centres and universities, and some work with the Arts and Humanities Research Council that the Design Council will do to actually encourage a greater understanding of design and what it is that design can do to help solve the societal challenges that we face. And we'll work with UKTI to actually market the UK's skills in design and other creative industries to actually make it clear that the UK is a very, very good place to conduct design activities, and we have a very strong design sector here that we should probably do more to promote. And then finally, what it is that we can do to integrate design within the wider activities that the public sector undertakes, linked to some competitions or challenges or other activities that we would like to run, where we will try and build on some of the work that the Design Council has done to encourage energy efficiency in homes, but actually see if we can encourage communities and other organisations to come together and innovate around a particular theme. And we're also going to develop a toolkit for civil servants to hopefully try and raise their awareness a little bit about design and the potential of design. I'd conclude by saying good luck with that one, David, because I think that you'll probably need a crane to raise a level of consciousness within the civil service about the importance of design. But nevertheless, you have to start somewhere, and we are going to start there.